I'm Jenny, 28F, and I still can't believe I'm writing this. My whole life has fallen apart in the span of a few days, and I need to get this off my chest. Some background first. I come from a wealthy family, but we weren't always rich. My parents built their business from nothing. Dad started in our garage fixing computers, and Mom handled the books. 20 years later, their tech company is worth millions. They taught me the value of hard work, made me start at the bottom despite our money. I got my degree in computer science, worked for other companies for 3 years, then started my own tech firm at 25. Everyone thought I was crazy, but my parents supported me. Now, at 28, my company's doing really well. We just landed a major government contract. I'm telling you all this because it's important to understand why Mark targeted me. I met Mark, 31M, 2 years ago at a charity gala. He was charming, intelligent, and seemed different from other guys I'd dated. Most men either wanted me for my money or were intimidated by my success. Mark was neither. He worked at Preston and Hayes, a prestigious law firm, as an associate. He made good money, but nothing compared to what I made. He never seemed bothered by that. Our first date was perfect. He took me to this tiny Italian restaurant, said he'd rather spend time talking than showing off at some fancy place. He told me about growing up in a middle-class family, working his way through law school, his dreams of making partner. I fell hard and fast. Over the next year, everything was amazing. He got along great with my parents. He and my dad would spend hours discussing politics and business. My mom loved how he'd help her in the kitchen during family dinners. His parents seemed wonderful too. His mom, Linda, would always send me home with leftovers after Sunday dinners, and his dad, Tom, taught me how to play golf. Mark proposed on our 1-year anniversary. He took me back to that Italian restaurant, got down on one knee right there between the bread basket and the wine glasses. The ring wasn't huge, he apologized for that, said he'd been saving for months but wanted to buy it himself. I loved that about him, his independence. Wedding planning started right away. My parents were thrilled. They'd been worried I was too focused on work, wanted me to find someone to share my life with. They offered to pay for everything, plus give us a wedding gift to help start our life together. Mark knew there would be a gift, but we never discussed the amount. Things started changing about a month ago. Mark began asking subtle questions about my parents' gift. He'd bring up friends who got nice houses or cars as wedding presents, then ask what my parents usually gave at family weddings. I thought he was just excited about our future. We were in the final stages of planning. The venue was booked, this beautiful estate outside the city. The guest list was at 300 people, mostly family and close friends. My dress cost more than some cars, but my mom insisted, said it was her dream to see her only daughter in a custom gown. 3 days ago, everything fell apart. I was at Mark's place, using his laptop to check the wedding email account we shared. All our vendor communications went there. I noticed an email from someone named Sarah with the subject line "After we get the money." I know I shouldn't have opened it, but something in my gut told me I had to. The email chain went back months. Hundreds of messages between Mark and Sarah. She was a junior associate at his firm, someone he'd been mentoring. Their relationship started right before he proposed to me. They'd been planning everything, waiting until after the wedding, getting my parents' gift, then he'd leave me for her. I felt sick reading their messages. They'd already picked out a house, a $3 million mansion by the beach. Mark had spreadsheets showing how they'd transfer my parents' money gradually so it wouldn't raise suspicions. They joked about how naive I was, how I believed everything he said. Sarah would send him photos from their secret meetings, talked about their future together. Mark told her I was just a means to an end, his golden ticket. He even complained about having to sleep with me, said he could barely stand it but needed to keep up appearances. I sat there for hours, reading everything. They had detailed plans, how he'd convince me to put the money in a joint account, how they'd make it look like legitimate business investments when they took it out. He'd even researched divorce lawyers, figuring out how to protect his assets when he left me. The worst part? His family knew. Not everything, but enough. His sister knew about Sarah, had met her several times. His parents suspected something but didn't say anything because they thought he was making a smart business decision marrying me. I took screenshots of everything, sent them to myself, then called my best friend Anna. She came right over. We spent the whole night going through his emails, finding more evidence. There were hotel receipts, jewelry purchases, even a ring he'd bought for Sarah, bigger than the one he gave me. The next morning, I called my parents. Dad wanted to kill him. Mom started crying. But they supported my decision to handle it my way. I waited until Mark got home from work. He came in like nothing was wrong, kissed my cheek, asked about wedding details. I let him talk for a few minutes, then pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots. His face went through every emotion: shock, fear, anger, then panic. He tried denying it at first, said his email must have been hacked. When that didn't work, he broke down crying. He begged me to understand. Said he really did love me at first, but then met Sarah and everything changed. He actually suggested we still get married, said he'd break it off with her. When I laughed, he got angry. Started saying I owed him, that he'd wasted 2 years with me. I told him to get out. He refused, said his name was on the lease. I reminded him that I owned the place outright. When he still wouldn't leave, I called building security. Watching them escort him out while he cried and begged was surreal. His parents called an hour later, screaming about how I was making a mistake. I sent them the screenshots. Suddenly they weren't so vocal. His mom started sobbing, his dad went quiet. Turns out they knew he was seeing someone else but thought he'd get it out of his system before the wedding. My parents have been amazing. Dad's handling the vendors, trying to get deposits back. Mom's calling guests, explaining the wedding's off. My brother flew in from Seattle to support me, said he never liked Mark anyway. The hardest part is facing everyone. The pity looks, the whispered conversations that stop when I enter a room. Some people have suggested I'm overreacting, that all men cheat, that I should consider the money I've already spent on the wedding. These people clearly have no self-respect. Mark's been blowing up my phone, calling from different numbers since I blocked his. His friends have tried reaching out, saying I should hear his side. There is no other side to this story. He's a con man who almost got away with it. Sarah's gone silent. She quit her job at the firm the day everything came out. Someone told me she's moved back to her parents' house in Ohio. Good riddance. So here I am, 3 days before what was supposed to be my final dress fitting. Instead I'm planning how to rebuild my life. But you know what? I'm glad I found out now. Better to be alone than with someone who sees you as nothing but a bank account. Update: when I thought discovering Mark's plan to steal my family's money was bad. Turns out, that was just the tip of the iceberg. The past 3 weeks have been like living in a crime documentary, and every day brings new revelations about the man I almost married. A week after I kicked Mark out, I got a call from a woman named Rachel Peterson. She worked as a senior paralegal at Preston and Hayes, the same firm where Mark worked. At first, I didn't want to take the call. I was tired of people trying to defend Mark or get gossip. But something in her voice made me listen. Rachel said she needed to meet in person. She had information about Mark that I needed to hear. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop across town, away from the firm and anywhere Mark might show up. I brought Anna with me. After everything that happened, I wasn't taking any chances meeting strangers alone. When Rachel started talking, my world tilted again. Sarah wasn't Mark's only side piece. There had been at least 3 other women at the firm, all junior associates he'd been mentoring. Rachel had been keeping notes for months, documenting everything she saw. She showed me pictures she'd taken of Mark with different women, text messages other paralegals had screenshot, even security footage from the firm's parking garage showing Mark with these women. But here's what made me sick: Mark had a pattern. He'd target young, ambitious women, usually new associates. He'd offer to mentor them, help their careers. Then he'd start the manipulation: late-night work sessions, private dinners to discuss cases, weekend legal conferences that were actually hotel meetups. Sarah lasted the longest because she was willing to play along with his bigger scheme. Rachel did some digging after she heard about my situation. She found out Mark had been engaged before, 3 years ago, to a woman named Catherine Miller. Catherine owned a successful chain of yoga studios. Mark had convinced her to invest almost $1 million in a revolutionary legal tech startup. The company was fake, the documents were forged, and the money vanished. He broke off the engagement right before the wedding, and Catherine was too embarrassed to press charges. I hired a private investigator, Steve Morris, recommended by my company's security team. Within a week, he found 2 more women with similar stories. Elizabeth Chen, a biotech executive who lost $800,000 in a fake investment scheme. Jennifer Roberts, who handed over $500,000 for a non-existent real estate development. Both women had been engaged to Mark. Both relationships ended right after he got their money. The pie dug deeper into Mark's background. Remember how he told me he was an associate at the firm? Lie. He was a paralegal. He'd gone to law school, that part was true, but he failed the bar exam 3 times. He never got his license to practice law. Everything he told me about his cases, his clients, his path to making partner, all lies. Steve also found something disturbing in Mark's financial records. Regular payments from offshore accounts, dating back 5 years. When he traced them, they led to a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. The company's paperwork listed James Wilson as the owner, Mark's mentor at the firm. I took everything to the police: the emails with Sarah, Rachel's evidence, the pie's findings. Detective Hansen had seen this before. They already had a file on Mark from Catherine and Elizabeth's complaints, but there hadn't been enough evidence to press charges. With everything I brought them, plus Rachel's documentation, they finally had what they needed. Mark was arrested yesterday morning at his parents' house. Rachel texted me when it happened. Apparently, word spread through the firm like wildfire. He was let out in handcuffs while his mother screamed and his father stood there in shocked silence. The police also arrested James Wilson. Turns out he'd been helping Mark run these scams for years. Sarah reached out through Rachel, begging to meet with me. I agreed, but only in public and with my brother present. We met at a park near my office. She looked terrible, like she hadn't slept in weeks. She broke down crying the moment she saw me. Her story came tumbling out. She met Mark 2 years ago, right after joining the firm. He swept her off her feet, told her she was special, different from other women. When she found out about me, he said our relationship was just for show, that he needed to marry me to get ahead in his career. He promised they'd be together after he got my family's money. She showed me text messages where he'd manipulated her, told her that sleeping with me made him sick, that she was the only one he loved. He had her convinced that I was just a stepping stone to their future together. The worst part? She honestly believed she was the only other woman, that their love was real. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But she still chose to be with a man she knew was engaged. She still participated in a plan to steal millions from me. When I pointed this out, she broke down again, said she'd cooperate with the police investigation. Mark's parents tried to do damage control. His mother showed up at my house unannounced, crying and begging me to drop the charges. She swore they had no idea about his past, about the other women. She said he needed help, not jail. I told her she should have thought about that before they encouraged him to marry me for my money. My parents have been incredible through all this. Dad hired extra security for our house and my company. He's worried Mark might try something when he makes bail. Mom's been handling the social fallout. Some of our family friends still think I'm overreacting, that boys will be boys and Mark deserves another chance. Mom shut them down hard, told them they're not welcome in our home if they support a con man. The hardest part has been realizing how deep the deception went. Every memory, every moment I thought was special, was just part of his con. The tiny Italian restaurant for our first date? He'd taken Catherine there too. The family ring he proposed with? Probably bought with another victim's money. But I'm not breaking. I'm angry, hurt, and humiliated, but I'm also determined. Mark and his accomplices are going to pay for what they've done to me and to all the other women they've hurt. This isn't over yet. Update 2. Just when I thought I had uncovered all of Mark's lies, the police investigation revealed an entire criminal empire. What started as a romance scam turned out to be an organized operation that had been running for years. 2 weeks after Mark's arrest, Detective Hansen called me into the station. They'd executed a search warrant on a storage unit registered in Mark's sister Amy's name. What they found was shocking: dozens of files on women across 3 states. Each file contained detailed information, photos, financial records, business holdings, personal histories. Even psychological profiles noting their vulnerabilities. My file was there too. Reading my file made me physically sick. Mark had started researching me 6 months before we met. That charity gala where we accidentally bumped into each other? Planned. He knew I'd be there because he'd paid a caterer for the guest list. He had notes about my relationship with my father, close to daddy issues. My dating history, workaholic, lonely, even my favorite wines and foods. The storage unit also contained fake business documents, blank company letterhead, and counterfeit seals from various state agencies. They found a laptop with software for creating fake investment portfolios and business proposals. Everything they needed to convince successful women to invest in non-existent companies. But the biggest shock came when the police found a notebook with coded account numbers. The forensic accountants traced them to a complex network of offshore accounts. Mark wasn't working alone, he had a whole team helping him run these scams. His mentor James Wilson was actually the mastermind. He'd been running this operation for over a decade. He'd recruit charming, good-looking men like Mark to target wealthy women. The men would get 40% of whatever they managed to steal, James got 30%, and the rest was split among the other players. Mark's family was deeper into it than anyone suspected. His sister Amy's fashion boutique? A front for money laundering. Those designer bags and shoes she sold? All fakes, used to justify large cash deposits. His cousin Ryan created the fake business documents and forged signatures. Even his parents' house had been bought with scam money. The district attorney is building a massive case. They've identified 15 victims so far, with total losses over $5 million. Some women lost everything: their savings, their businesses, their homes. One victim, a 62-year-old widow named Margaret, had to go back to work after Mark and his team stole her retirement fund. Sarah turned state's evidence last week. She'd been recording conversations ever since our meeting in the park. Turns out she was more involved than she'd admitted. James had been grooming her to be Mark's partner in future scams. They were teaching her how to spot potential victims, how to gain their trust, what signs to look for that showed a woman was vulnerable. The recordings Sarah made are damning. She got Mark on tape admitting to everything, the previous scams, how they picked their victims, even joking about how easy I was to fool. He told her they'd do the same thing again in another state after they got my family's money. He had already started researching potential targets in Colorado. Mark's parents disappeared 3 days ago. Their house is empty, their phones disconnected. Someone said they flew to Florida. Amy's boutique closed overnight, just a sign on the door saying closed for renovations. Ryan hasn't been seen since the arrests started. The other victims have been contacting me. Elizabeth Chen found me on LinkedIn, Catherine Miller through mutual friends. We've started meeting regularly, sharing our stories, helping each other heal. These women are incredible, successful, strong, intelligent people who were manipulated by experts at psychological warfare. The investigation is still ongoing. The FBI is involved now because the scam crossed state lines. They're looking into similar operations in other cities, thinking James might have trained other teams. Every day brings new revelations. Mark's lawyers reached out yesterday, offering a deal. He'll plead guilty and help the FBI if I ask the DA to recommend a lighter sentence. I told them to shove it. He can rot in jail for all I care. The other victims feel the same way, no deals, no mercy. Some people have suggested I write a book about this, warn other women. Maybe someday. Right now, I'm focused on helping the investigation and rebuilding my life. My company is doing well despite all the drama, and I'm learning to trust my instincts again. The hardest lesson in all this? Evil doesn't always look evil. Mark and his family spent years cultivating their image as the perfect upper-middle-class family. They fooled everyone, lawyers, business people, even other con artists. But they couldn't keep up the act forever. The truth always comes out, it just takes time. The case is going to trial in a few months. The DA says it's going to be big, national news coverage, the whole thing. I don't care about the publicity. I just want justice, for myself and for all the other women whose lives they destroyed. Final update: everyone's case finally ended last week. Mark took a plea deal, 15 years in federal prison plus restitution to all victims. His sister Amy got 5 years, cousin Ryan got 7, and James Wilson got 12. Sarah received immunity for her cooperation, though no one in the legal community will hire her now. The FBI investigation revealed even more victims. The final count was 23 women across 5 states, with total losses around $8 million. They found 2 other teams James had trained, operating in Chicago and Miami. Those investigations are still ongoing. The trial made national headlines. Wedding scammer, they called it. Every major network covered the story. I've had reporters camping outside my house, trying to get interviews. 3 true crime podcasts want to feature the case. Netflix even reached out about documentary rights. I turned them all down. I'm not interested in being a true crime celebrity. My company landed 2 major contracts last month. Turns out, all the publicity had an unexpected benefit. Clients said they were impressed by how I handled the situation, kept my composure, helped other victims. We've doubled our workforce and opened a second office. I started a foundation with some of the other victims. We provide support and resources to people affected by romance scams. Elizabeth Chen runs our legal aid program, helping victims navigate the court system. Catherine Miller handles our financial recovery services. Margaret, the widow who lost her retirement, runs support groups. We've already helped 30 women recover over $2 million from various scammers. Mark's parents were found in Tampa, living under fake names. They're facing charges for money laundering and conspiracy. His mother tried to contact me one last time before their arrest, sent a 10-page letter about how they were victims too, how Mark had manipulated them. I sent it back unopened. Mark wrote to me from prison. 8 pages of excuses and apologies. Said he really did love me at first, that things just got complicated when he met Sarah. Claimed he was going to tell me everything after the wedding but couldn't find the right time. Said he thinks about me every day, misses what we had. The letter ended with him asking if I'd visit him in prison. He wants to explain everything face to face. I burned the letter in my backyard fire pit, threw his old pictures in too. Watching them burn was better than any therapy session. I've started dating again, carefully. My new rule: first date includes a background check. My Steve vets everyone I'm interested in. Some guys think it's excessive, but the ones who understand are the ones worth keeping around. The foundation keeps me busy, but it's fulfilling work. Last week we helped a woman recover $300,000 from a scammer who'd posed as a military contractor. Seeing her face when we handed her the check made everything worth it. Looking back, there were red flags with Mark. The way he love-bombed me at first, how he always had explanations for inconsistencies in his stories, how he isolated me from friends who asked too many questions. But he and his team were professionals, they'd been doing this for years, knew exactly how to manipulate successful women. To everyone who's asked if I regret exposing everything, no. Some said I should have handled it privately, taken a settlement, avoided the publicity. But Mark and his crew counted on their victims staying quiet. That's how they got away with it for so long. Not anymore. I'm in a better place now. Stronger, smarter, and ironically, my company's worth more than ever. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's taking what happened to you and using it to help others. That's what I'm doing now, and I wouldn't have it any other way.